It has been brought to my notice, some of you have been playing on the railway again.
The Finishing Line, a public information film, aimed towards children, about the dangers of playing around railroads and trains. What could go wrong? Well, spoilers, if you show children dying to other children, children will faint. Hello ladies and gentlemen and everyone watching. Today we're going to go over another brutal PSA short film. This short film is The Finishing Line. Now I say another one because I recently did a video about Apaches, a short film PSA about the dangers of kids playing on farms. Now that video has some copyright issues, as well as the comments being turned off, which I did not do. I want to make that known. And the reason I'm saying this is because I'm going to try to avoid that again this video, but if it happens, I'm sorry, but just know it's not me turning off the comments. My favorite part about YouTube, besides just binge watching, is the community. And it's kind of hard to have a community when you can't communicate. It's kind of in the word. Anyway, here is a warning that this video will show depictions of children dying. It's all acting, it's all fake, but I want to let you know now because some people are sensitive to that, and if you are, this video is probably not going to be it for you. Alright, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, it's good to see you again. Let's get into it. The Finishing Line was released in 1977 in the United Kingdom. It was produced by James Ritchie and the production company British Transport Films. It was directed by John Krish, who has a lot of these brutal type PSA short films under his belt. For example, he directed Sewing Machine in 1973, which showed shots of a mother sewing intertwined with their kid getting ran over in the street. Talk about 0 to 100. Not you, asshole.
What about your relationship with Drake? Tell me about your friendship. How did this all come about?
I love him. I met him in Australia, and he's honestly so fantastic and a great friend and a great role model. You know, we just texted each other the other day, and he was like, "I miss you so much."
My point, John Krish is well equipped to traumatize his viewers, in an educational way, of course. Which leads me to a little fun fact. This film was shown to kids in school, and these schools were the ones who volunteered to show it to the kids. Now please keep that in mind when we watch the PSA. But as mentioned in the intro, some of the children fainted from watching it. And as for the Finishing Line's television release, it kinda got banned for more than 20 years because of outcry. With all that being said, buckle up because it's gonna be a fun ride.
So buckle up. What the?
The short film begins with a lecture from a man about how the railroads are no place to play.
The railway is not the game field.
Only for that lecture to become a narration from a little boy. Now this little boy, he's not playing, but he's like right on top of the railroad tracks, which I feel like the lecturer kind of said not to do. Regardless, the narration from the kid takes us into our story. The kid is imagining what a school sports day would look like next to the railroad track. And for those who don't know what a sports day is, for me it was called a field day. And it's pretty much where everyone in the school got outside and played a bunch of games. And you can invite your parents over to come over and watch, as well as eat during the lunch. And the really cool thing about it is if your parents loved you enough, you could leave halfway through the day. So that's what the narrator's mind curates. Now these games are much more athletic, sportsy based. And as such, that means we have to compete. And that means teams. So we see teams getting separated by colors. Like the red, green, yellow, blue. Those colors. One of my favorite parts about brutal PSAs is the foreshadowing, and we see it right away within the field. It looks like normal festivities going on, but you might have noticed all the stretchers and medical personnel. But you know kids, they're always like roughhousing and shit. There's gonna be some bruises and stuff. As everyone settles in, the games slowly start, and we get an explanation for how this is gonna go. There are gonna be different games for each team to compete in. Whoever scores the most within the certain game rules, wins. That's usually how that goes. So what is our first game? Well, the narrator shows us with this graph. All of the teams start at one side and run to a fence, and they need to break a big enough hole through that fence to get past. After that, they run down an embankment near the railroad tracks. Once there, you have to run across the railroad tracks, and then go up the other embankment, and then you're at the finish line. An extremely safe venture, I have no doubt. Well, there's a reason I'm covering this, so let's cut the cheese, as some might say.
On your marks, get set.
What the hell was that? Alright, we should be good now. When the games start, we see the kids beating the shit out of this fence. Like, it doesn't even look like they're trying to break through, it just looks like they're trying to beat it up. Now, some kids actually do break through the fence, while others just climb over or under it. And now onto a giant hill, but luckily it's downwards, so that should be easy. Speaking of downwards hill, one time my sister was riding a bike and she went down a hill and there was a fence right here and she didn't like brake for some reason. She was a child, I was too. She's not gonna watch this, so she won't know about it. She didn't break, she ran right into the fence and went. Anyway, during the scene of kids running across the tracks, it goes on for just long enough where you think everything will be fine. But then you notice one of the kids who gets knocked out and falls right onto the tracks. And all throughout the scene, kids are screaming loud as hell. And I personally was overstimulated. So good job, director and sound design team. Unfortunately, a blue member is down. But teamwork makes the dream work, and we see all of the blue team head over to try to aid their friend. And I mean, they should be good. The organizers definitely stopped the trains from coming.
Train coming!
After the kid gets ran over, like most PSAs, it doesn't show the instant brutality, nor does it give time to process the severity of what just happened. It's on to the next. Granted, there is still reaction shots, and we get to see the blue team member's body. All while the announcer for the games state that the blue team was disqualified for, obvious reasons. Now it kinda makes sense why all those gurneys were there at the beginning. But wait, that's only one body. That was a lot of gurneys. We're not done yet. Calm down. But it still furthers that off feeling of knowing that people, specifically adults, knew that kids are gonna die today. And they were prepared for that. I like it. It's kinda dystopian. Alright, let's move on from the death to the next game. Time to throw some rocks, baby. As our narrator explains it, all the teams have to do is throw a bunch of rocks at a moving train. I was always told not to do these type of things, especially at cars, which apparently a lot of people are doing nowadays. If you do that, you're a bad person. And I don't know if you believe in religion or not, but you're going to the bad place in all the religions. Sucks for you. I went off on a tangent. We're back to the script now. All the kids have to do is hit the train with the rock, 10 feet away. And they get differing points on where they hit the train. Like if they smash a window, that's certain points. If they hit the train head on, some points. But if they can get a rock inside the train itself, that's even better. And when you look at that, they even painted the rocks too. How nice. Alright, time for the games. I wonder what team is going to use a thought out method. Oh, they're just chucking the rocks at the... Okay. Like mentioned before, there's an uncanny feeling that every adult knows what's happening and is okay with children dying or getting hurt. And with the train itself participating in this game, you come to the realization that the train is part of the games. It wasn't just a random train that hit that kid last time, which would have been bad enough because the organizers didn't care about the kids. But no, this is all planned out. That train is like Michael Phelps because Michael Phelps is really good and he beat up everyone else the train's killing kids. Comparisons. When we see the organizers count up the points, we realize how weird the situation truly is, because there's passengers inside the train that just got pelted with rocks. I mean, even the train conductor himself looks to be blinded by the glass shattered. But more importantly, who won the game? The yellow team won this game. And this is another trope that many PSAs do, where it shows someone celebrating or a happy scene or some uplifting scene with a brutal graphic scene. Now let's get on to the next games. You guys ever played Frogger? Now imagine that, but with children. Our narrator describes the game yet again, where it separates two teams on two sides of the tracks. Each team is looking at a sign further down the track. The sign will say go whenever the train passes it, and what the kids have to do is get across the tracks before the train comes. I just have to say, PSAs are so weird because if it wasn't educational, it's just children getting murked, and directors being like, yeah. But hey, education, and that's what we're here for, YouTube. Educational purposes only. Kids, don't play around train tracks, okay? We watch the teams delegate on who's gonna run and who's not gonna run, because some people are cowards. However, I want to show you a good example of what a great leader looks like.
Sick and tired of your arguing. No buts, nothing. Just run when the train comes, alright?
Now I want to point out, this is the first time we actually see the children being somewhat hesitant on participating in the games. Like yes, we've seen kids being in shock and being horrified that their teammates are no longer with them. But we've never seen a kid being like, hey, I don't want to go near the train because I could get hurt. But despite disagreements, they choose a couple of kids from each team. And as that train approaches, all the kids are ready for that sign to turn to go. This is the first time in the PSA where the carnage is instantly shown. And honestly, to me, I was kind of shocked by this because a lot of PSAs don't do that right away. Like, they'll definitely show brutal stuff, and I've seen way worse graphic PSAs than the finishing line, but rarely, if ever, do they just show, like, something happening to a child, well, to a fake body. Actor. Everything's fake, unless it's not. No, this time we just see a bunch of dead kids on the railroad tracks. A lot of their bodies look pretty mangled, too. And this is just the third game out of 4, so you just know the next game is going to be worse. But the thing is, who won that game? Well, blue won that game. Blue won. Meanwhile, green had 4 of their players excommunicated. Nikocado avocado. On to the next game. The Great Tunnel Walk. Now, are you smarter than a 5th grader? Can you guess what this is? Well, you're actually wrong, because it's actually a walk in a tunnel, and it's great. Why is it great? Well, because it's 3 miles of pitch darkness, and that honestly should be bad enough for some kids. But the thing is, they yearn for the mines, so this is just like training. And since we're all responsible adults, we're not going to send a train in, because that would just be dumb. Like, there would be no point in doing that when the game doesn't even involve that. Well, at least there's no turning back, so like, at least they'll come out this side, those who survive. Yep, there they come. I know I'm making a lot of jokes, but I want to point out one certain scene. It's right before the carnage. It's pretty much the build-up up to that climax, but it's all the children walking into the tunnel. It's this particular shot that I'm talking about. I don't talk about symbolism much because I'm just a big dum-dum, but what I think this symbolizes is just kids marching to their deaths unknowingly while the parents watch, in reference to parents not telling their kids, hey, trains are dangerous. Do not go near the train tracks because you could die. If you don't tell your kid that, you're pretty much watching them just, risk their life for playtime. Hey, maybe I'm misreading that. There's Kermit smoking a cigarette. I'm not the brightest of guys or girls because I'm not a girl. I digress. Following suit in the PSA, when we see the first survivors come out of the tunnel, the organizers come up to them. Granted, they help them, but they're mainly focused on, hey, what's your name? What's your name? Not because they need to get their name for like head counts, but because we need to know who won the game. Okay? I need you to remember what's important here. The games. I also like how they filmed the carnage at the end. It doesn't show kids becoming bowling pins. No, instead it will just show hundreds of kids coming out of the tunnel injured. And after the winners come out, we see medics and organizers collect all the dead bodies. And what they do with those dead bodies is they put them right onto the tracks, right in between everything, place them nicely. And that's how the games end. Everyone had fun, right? The PSA ends with a shot of the kid overwatching the railroad tracks as the man giving his lecture wraps up his speech.
If any of you think that playing on the railway is a good idea, perhaps he or she would care to stand up.
And that is the end of the PSA short film, The Finishing Line. Let me know your thoughts about it below. That is if comments are open. Again, I hope they are because that's like my favorite part, but if they're not, I'm sorry. I like this PSA particularly because of the weird vibes that it gave off right from the start. Like specifically how adults are so okay with kids dying. Like hell, not even okay, they are setting the kids up to die. And I think the overall message of the PSA is kind of a brutal one, and it's to parents saying, hey, if you don't warn your kids about the dangers of playing around railroad tracks, don't be surprised when bad things happened. Because every adult in the finishing line were not surprised by the deaths. They just lived on with their lives. If you agree with that, let me know. If you disagree with that, let me know, because I'm probably wrong. If you don't care and you just like watching along, I don't know, maybe hit that like. It helps out with the channel, algorithm, all that fun stuff. It gets me out there more, and I appreciate it. If you want to see this face again and hear about some weird, scary stuff, then hit that subscribe button. I post every Friday, and if you do, with that, I'll see you next week then.
Right?
Bye.